I caught my wife cheating with her ex. So I didn't argue. I didn't beg. I exposed everything in front of her family and handed her the divorce papers. Hello, Reddit I+. I used to believe that if you did everything right in a marriage, loyalty, patience, consistency, things would hold together. I don't believe that anymore. I'm 36 now. This all started a year ago, but it feels like I aged 10 years in that time. My ex-wife Amara was 33. We had 2 kids, a house we built from scratch, routines that felt safe. Not exciting, but solid. At least that's what I thought. The cracks didn't show all at once. They never do. They creep in quietly, disguised as stress, mood swings, busy days. She started becoming selective with her attention, laughing at her phone more, guarding it like it contained state secrets, turning away slightly when typing, taking calls in the other room. If you've ever been in that situation, you know the feeling. You don't have proof. Just this constant, low-level unease that eats at you. And the worst part? You start questioning yourself instead of them. I told myself I was overthinking, until the lies got sloppy. One morning she told me she had to attend a parent-teacher follow-up for our son. The problem? I had already gone the day before, alone. I didn't call her out. I just nodded and let her walk out the door. But something in me shifted that day. Not anger, not yet. Awareness. That same afternoon, I got a call from her workplace. They were asking if everything was okay. She hadn't shown up in nearly a week. No notice, no explanation. That's when the unease hardened into certainty. I left work early and drove straight to her office. Empty. Her colleagues confirmed it. I called her. No answer. She called back 2 minutes later. I'm with a client, she said quickly. Emergency case. Her job doesn't have emergencies. I didn't argue. I didn't accuse. I just said, all right. But from that moment on, I stopped listening to what she said. I started watching what she did. That night at dinner, I tested her. I asked our son about the meeting. He looked confused. We went yesterday, Dad. I looked at her. She froze for half a second, then recovered. I just wanted to check in again, she said, smiling. That smile used to mean comfort. Now it meant performance. Later that night, she picked a fight. Said I was distant, predictable, that I didn't excite her anymore. That word stuck. Excite. Like I was some outdated appliance she'd grown tired of. I didn't argue much. I just let her talk. Because guilty people don't defend, they deflect. That night, after she fell asleep, I did something I had never done before. I unlocked her phone. And I wish I could say I was shocked. I wasn't. It was worse than I expected. It wasn't just flirting. It wasn't just emotional. It was a full relationship. Messages every day, photos, plans, inside jokes. Things she used to say to me. Things she hadn't said to me in years. And then I saw something that made my stomach drop. A message from him. Does he suspect anything yet? Her reply, he's too calm. He'll never figure it out. I sat there for a long time after that. Not crying, not moving, just empty. Then I got to work. Screenshots, backups, dates, times. I documented everything. Because at that point, I wasn't just a husband anymore. I was preparing for a war I didn't ask for. I found his address in the messages. I rented a car so she wouldn't recognize it. And I waited. When she showed up, I felt something break inside me. Not when she hugged him, not when she kissed him. But when I saw how comfortable she was. Like this was normal. Like I didn't exist. I took pictures, videos. Enough to make denial impossible. And I kept going back, day after day. Not because I wanted to, because I needed enough evidence to survive what was coming. I could have just filed for divorce quietly, but I knew her. She wouldn't go quietly. She would twist the story, paint me as the problem. So I made a decision. I would control the narrative first. That weekend, her entire family came over. Dinner, laughter, normal. She had no idea what was coming. Halfway through the meal, I stood up, connected my phone to the TV, and played everything. Messages, photos, videos, no commentary, just truth. The room went silent, then chaos. Her mother crying, her brother shouting, her father staring like he didn't recognize his own daughter. Amara panicked. Turn it off. What are you doing? I looked at her and said calmly, I'm showing them who you really are. Then I placed the divorce papers in front of her. I'm done. That should have been the end. It wasn't even the beginning. Because humiliation doesn't always lead to accountability. Sometimes it leads to retaliation. 2 days later, I was served. Not just a divorce response, a full legal attack. She filed for full custody, claimed I was emotionally abusive, controlling, neglectful, said I created a hostile home environment. She even accused me of manipulating the kids. I couldn't believe it. Then I realized something. She wasn't trying to win the argument. She was trying to win the system. The court process was brutal. If you've never been through it, let me explain something. Truth doesn't walk into a courtroom and automatically win. It has to be proven, organized, presented, and even then it can be twisted. Her lawyer was aggressive. painted me as cold, detached, obsessed with control. They used my calm personality against me, said my lack of emotional expression was intimidation. I sat there listening to a version of myself that didn't exist. And the worst part? Some of it sounded believable. That's what scared me. Then came the custody hearings. That was the hardest part. Not the accusations, not the stress, the kids. They had to be evaluated, interviewed. Our private life became public records. Moments that should have stayed inside our home were now evidence. I hated every second of it. But then it was my turn. My lawyer presented everything: the messages, the photos, the timeline, the proof that she had been lying, disappearing, neglecting responsibilities. And then, the most important part, the contradiction. She claimed I was controlling, but I had evidence of her living a double life freely. She claimed I was neglectful, but records showed I was the one attending school meetings, managing schedules, keeping stability. And then came the moment that changed everything. Her own messages were read out loud in court, word for word, including, "He's too calm. He'll never figure it out." You could feel the shift in the room. Her composure cracked for the first time. The final ruling took months. But when it came, it wasn't what she wanted: joint custody, primary residence with me. And the judge made one thing very clear: her actions had consequences. But here's the part no one tells you. Winning in court doesn't feel like winning. It feels like surviving. I got custody. I kept the house. But I lost something bigger. The version of my life I thought was real. Now it's quiet. Too quiet sometimes. The kids are adjusting. I'm trying. But every now and then, I think back to that moment. Standing in front of that TV, exposing everything, and I wonder, did I end it the right way? Or did I just turn a betrayal into a battlefield that never really ends? At first, I thought the hardest part was over. The ruling had come in, the papers were signed, the schedule was set. The house felt different, but at least it was mine again. No tension, no pretending, just me and the kids. I told myself that was enough. I was wrong. Because divorce doesn't end when the judge speaks. It just changes shape. About 3 weeks after the final ruling, Amara started being cooperative. Too cooperative. She was suddenly flexible with schedules, polite in messages, even thanking me for things. If you've been through something like this, you know exactly how unsettling that is. People don't just flip like that. Not after everything. At first I thought maybe reality had finally hit her. Maybe losing custody shook her. Maybe she was trying to be better. I almost felt relieved. That didn't last. It started small. Our son came home one evening, quieter than usual, not upset, just thinking. I asked him what was wrong. He hesitated, then said, "Mom said you didn't want us before." That hit harder than anything she did in court, because now she wasn't fighting me anymore. She was rewriting me. I kept my voice steady and asked what exactly she said. He looked down and said, "She said you only kept us because you wanted to win." I had to leave the room for a minute, not because I didn't have an answer, because I knew any answer I gave had to be careful. That's the part people don't understand. When kids are involved, you don't get to react freely. Every word becomes a seed, and you have no control over how it grows. That night, I sat them both down, not to defend myself, to anchor them. I told them, "You don't have to pick sides. You don't have to believe everything you hear. What matters is how you feel when you're with me and when you're with her." Simple, honest, no attacks. But inside, I was furious. I documented everything. Every comment, every behavioral shift, every inconsistency, because I had learned my lesson. Emotion doesn't win, evidence does. Then came the second hit. I got a call from the school. Apparently, Amara had shown up unannounced and tried to take the kids early on one of my days. When the school refused, she caused a scene. Said she was their mother and had every right. They had to call me to confirm. I drove there immediately. By the time I arrived, she was gone. But the damage wasn't. Teachers had seen it, staff had seen it, and most importantly, the kids had seen it. That night, my daughter asked me something I wasn't ready for. "Are you going to take us away from Mom?" I knelt down and said, "No, I'm not taking you away from anyone." And I meant it. No matter what she was doing, I wasn't going to turn this into a tug of war. But that didn't mean I would let it slide. I contacted my lawyer the next morning. We filed for a modification review. Not to take her out of their lives, but to set boundaries she couldn't ignore. Because what she was doing now wasn't just messy, it was harmful. The next hearing was different from the first. Less dramatic, more surgical. No big reveals, no emotional speeches, just patterns, documented incidents, school reports, message logs, behavioral notes, and slowly, piece by piece, the picture formed. Not of a cheating spouse, but of an unstable co-parent. Her lawyer tried to push back, said she was emotionally overwhelmed, that she was struggling with the transition. But the judge didn't look convinced, because this wasn't one mistake. It was a pattern. Then something happened I didn't expect. Amara broke down. Not the controlled, strategic kind, a real breakdown. She started crying mid-hearing, saying she felt like she was losing everything, that I had taken her life away, that she didn't recognize herself anymore. For a second, just a second, I saw the person I used to love, not the one who lied, not the one who fought me in court, just her. And it messed with my head more than anything else. But then I remembered something. Feeling sorry for someone doesn't mean trusting them again. The ruling came quickly this time. Stricter custody enforcement, mandatory communication through a parenting app, no unannounced visits, and a warning. One more violation and her custody time would be reduced. After that, things changed again. Not better, just quieter, more controlled, more distant. Now, months later, life has settled into something that almost feels normal. The kids laugh again, the house feels lighter. I sleep better, not perfectly, but better. And me? I've changed. I don't trust easily anymore. I don't ignore red flags, and I don't confuse silence with peace. Sometimes I still think about that night, the TV screen lighting up the room, her face when everything came out, the moment everything broke. And I ask myself the same question. If I had handled it differently, would any of this have turned out better? I don't know. But I do know this. The betrayal didn't end my life. The way I responded to it, that's what defined what came next.